Hello everyone, how you guys doing? Hopefully you're having a wonderful day. Today we are here with another PWCC weekly review where I go through the top 100 soccer items auctioned off this week. As always, if you enjoyed the video, do make sure to leave a like. I'd appreciate it greatly. With that said, let's go ahead and head on over. So we made our way on over there. Apologies this week. I didn't go through the other pages to find a couple more, but we'll start here at nearly $150. We have a Victor Osimhen stained glass. Next to that, I thought this was a pretty high sale for an Allison auto. 156, it is PSA 10, but I think it's out of a high number. Yeah, 149. We have a PSA 9 2010 Lionel Messi. Above that, this seemed like a pretty good price for 2005-2006 Ronaldinho at a 9. Pop 1 of 1, though, so, that plays a factor. I thought this, seems kind of high, to be honest. Post-playing career sticker auto out of 99. Not a whole lot of a draw, but 162 is a pretty good price. These are up a little bit, or at least this sale is. That's sort of a theme. Messi seems to have been, a bit higher in some of these auctions. Notably, these auctions ended before the game was actually over, so, I would assume that it had some sort of baked-in effect, but not fully baked in that he was going to win. This goes for 162. Above that, we have Christian Pulisic going for 168. Seems like a pretty good price, I would say, on a 7.5. It is a rookie auto, but the black gold set isn't the most coveted, surely, but still gets a decent price. PSA 5 Rivaldo goes for 174. I'm pretty sure I looked this one up. Yeah, so it's basically where the last couple sales have been, 192, 198, down a little bit. If we go all the way back, there was a 247 sale in August of 2022. But before that, these were a good bit higher, 1,000 and 500. But they sort of dropped and at least found nearly their price point. This sale was a little lower than the rest, so maybe they're still drifting down, but not at the rate they once were. I've never seen this one before. A 58 team photo with Pele going for 174 in a CGC3. Above that, we have a Bremer Fakring. This is a Vava scoring versus Sweden, but back here, you can't really see it, but Pele's hiding, so that's why it gets a good price. Ollie Watkins goes for 180 there. Ollie Watkins having his day. Some decent selling post-playing career sticker autos. Not a huge fan personally, but I sort of understand, especially on players that didn't have playing career autos. You kind of, need something, so that makes sense. 2004 Paxio PSA 8 Ronaldo goes for 186. This is probably one of my favorite Ronaldo stickers in terms of just the aesthetics. Also, his Euro sticker as well, and pretty early release at that. Gets a decent price at 186, but these are also fairly hard to grade in 9s and 10. We have a 2003 Mega Ficha PSA 9 of Ronaldinho that goes for 186. These Zaras, I don't know if this got rerun. I honestly just don't really feel like checking. But we have seen a good amount of these go. But they always go for within the same range, 150 to 250. So there hasn't been any noticeable drop in that regard. We have a 1953 Casal Radios of Alfredo Di Stefano. Goes for 192 in SGC3. Look this one up. There was only one other comp, and it probably was, I'm guessing it's the same exact one. It might be a rerun. It was a few months ago. This one went for 210, so just a little bit of a dip on that price, but nothing too crazy. Erling Haaland sticker auto. We also have a Valverde out of 10 from Panini Chronicles. Above that, we have a couple Messis and a Tim Howard, so just a bunch of goats. We have a PSA 10 2014 Prism and a PSA 10 2010 South Africa sticker. This is probably one of the scenarios where I guess I'd take the Prism over the sticker, just because there's so many stickers. But I also thought about it for a second. It's like, well, in theory, I would like a sticker run of Messi. But I don't know if I'd pay the PSA 10 premium, I guess, on him. Because if you wanted a full sticker run of Messi, it'd probably cost like a couple grand maybe, which is, at least in PSA 10, which is a pretty decent price for stickers. Now, if we look at the graph, over the last couple years, down 2%, so it seems like these have relatively stabilized. But even within this graph, you can see a kind of a dip here in late 2022, early 2023, kind of ran back up. I guess that's around the same time as the Messi MLS, all that jazz. Fell off, and then it's kind of been relatively stagnant since. So not a whole lot going on there. Beyond that, Tim Howard, PSA 9. There was another one of these that ran a couple weeks ago. It was a different cert. That one also sold for like 200, so a pretty decent price there, at least from my eyes. Kind of an oddity in terms of USA release, and Tim Howard having an early card is definitely cool. Good grade as well, pop 1 of 3, none higher. Above that, we have a stained glass Pele, so really post-playing career, like 50 years later, of case hits. Make of it what you will. I guess if you're someone that collects stained glass, why not have a Pele? 2017 Kylian Mbappe PSA 10 goes for 204. We have this PSA 5 Campio. So that's interesting. This is Campio, which I is going to be interesting because there's going to be other ones later that sell for a lot more than this one. I don't know why that is. I thought maybe it's because this one was a Campione. Not the case. So I really have no explanation. We have a Ronaldinho auto. We'll see a lot of these. It seems like Ronaldinho's one of the bigger pre-modern signers. So just generally speaking, if you're a Ronaldinho fan, you can probably expect to be able to find some on-card autos of some of your favorite cards at some point or another. 1957 Hispano Americana Alfredo Di Stefano. This PSA 3 goes for 204. Pop one of one, just one higher. I checked Toto Collection, and basically I only found a few comps in the past, and they were all really beaten up. I would say a 3 is a pretty good grade. And the sales that I was finding were going for, at least pre-boom, they were like 40 to 50 bucks for really beaten up ones. And then more recent, there was one for somewhere around 150. So PSA 3 at 204 seems like a fairly good deal. We have this Artegola 210 there on that SGC 1010. Above that we have an Alex Morgan. We have a 2003 Ronaldinho PSA 10 Gem Mint. To me, this seemed like a pretty good deal. It's usually hard for me to sort of recognize what's a great deal within a player's market once you get into like 4th, 5th, 6th year, all that, because it's really hit or miss. But a PSA 10 on an Este sticker Ronaldinho from 2003, pretty good. I'm not gonna lie. Pop 1 of 5, so there are others, but you see a lot higher prices paid for even some Barca kit stuff. I mean, we'll see some later in later years for Ronaldinho that go for more than this. PSA 10 too, super nice grade. Este stickers, not easy to grade by any means. So to me, I guess if you're a Ronaldinho collector, 210 on that sounds like a really good deal. John Barnes, 216 here on this 1 of 1. Again, post-playing career, not the biggest fan in general, but I guess if it gets John Barnes into the top 100, you do what you gotta do. Beyond that, this PSA 5 goes for 216. This is also kind of a low price compared to what we'll see later. The greens typically do a little bit more than the whites that we saw a bit ago. That's another 10 bucks. We have a Messi 2009 PSA 9 Mega Cracks card. I do really like the look of the 2009 set. It has just such amazing eye appeal in terms of aesthetics. Goes for $222, which is a pretty decent price. Definitely gets a decent premium, but deservedly so. It's messy. We have the 96-97 Mejores Equipos de Europa of Thierry Henry in a PSA 6. This goes for $222. We'll find a PSA 7 here in a bit that also went last night. We have an Henry sticker auto. This is down from the last one. I think the last one was maybe closer to 300, but yeah, a little down. PSA 10, though, of the 2019 UCL Erling Haaland. SGC 3 Cruyff goes for $234. About what you'd expect. 1s and 2s are usually in the 100, 200 range, so a 3 being $234. I guess is a little light comparatively, but it's all on a sliding scale. We have a Panini Prism Gold of Erling Haaland. Now this is an insert, but it goes for $240. Again, just kind of impressed, or I guess not impressed, but surprised by how low the gold out of 10s of Erling Haaland from the treble-winning year do. Now, this is a PSA 9, so I do understand that, but on out of 10 cards, I'm not a big PSA premium guy, but I understand the market is, so, you got to understand the greater context there. Pop 1 of 2, just one higher, but this goes for $240. I think there was an Optic Gold out of 10 a couple weeks back for nearly the same price. And I mean, to me, I would think Erling Haaland, treble winning year stuff would be doing crazy numbers. But ultimately, doesn't really seem like there's boatloads of Haaland collectors. They are out there, don't get me wrong, but I feel like a lot of people are just sort of fly by night and get caught up in the wind of whatever's going on at the moment. So people aren't really all that hyped about Haaland anymore, despite his scoring record and the trophies he's winning and all that. No one really cares, so I find that interesting. Jack Grealish PSA 10 next to it, Color Blast. Again, I'm a Pulisic guy, I'm a US guy. In this row, I would take the Erling Haaland Gold without a shadow of a doubt, so if that tells you anything. I'm not a big fan of this Christian Pulisic card. I don't know why it does such a good number. I'm guessing it must be relatively low in terms of print run, but I mean, there was an out of 249 die cut last night. Now, it was a PSA 8, but the die cuts are always going to be lower grade because they're die cut. That went for like 60, 70 bucks. So why this goes for 240? I mean, I think it all comes down to grading premium, obviously, at the PSA 10, but the card itself doesn't woo me, so I don't really get it. Nonetheless, does 240, which is a pretty good number, I would say. Above that, we have a 1930s Miazza. I think that's so important, and I don't know why PWCC doesn't do that properly, but when you go and look at this, CGC does a lot of this where they basically just put 1930s and it's a big old question mark. You know, they don't know the exact year, so they're just going to put 1930s. They don't even know the producer, so they just put Italian card, and there's really not a whole lot to go off of. Nonetheless, PWCC puts it as 1930 in the title, which I feel like is pretty misleading. It should be 30s with an S, and that signifies that it could be any year rather than 1930. They do make these mistakes, and while we can ask for more, and I personally ask for more in that way, I don't really have much communication with them, if I'm being honest, but in terms of what I say, I would want them to be better with this. But also we have to take some sort of onus on ourselves to be able to research this stuff and to know what we're looking at, right? Because on eBay, like, eBay is just random people selling. So people can mislabel all the time on eBay and things still go through. So in general, you should educate yourself and rely on yourself, but it would help if PWCC was better. Nonetheless, it does feel like most of the time people at least understand what's going on, because this doesn't get a premium like it's a 1930 release the way you would expect if it was 1930, so I think that says that the bidders were probably aware. Beyond that, we have a Sabitzer 1 of 1 from this Euro. We have a Kaboom Gareth Bale going for $250 there. This Puskás auto on a photograph. This one went a bit higher than some of the ones we've seen lately, but we haven't seen one sell in a bit, so maybe that's why. The Jimmy Greaves PSA 10 goes for $252 from the 1958 Cadet Suites. I wanted to bring this up because, I also looked at this Ronaldinho earlier to see what other PSA 10s sold for. They sold for like $300, so it wasn't anything crazy. Anyway, with the Jimmy Greaves, I'm just curious. I'm looking at PSA Pop. If anyone knows why Jimmy Greaves, he has 12 PSA 10s out of 131 graded, or I guess 134. He has 12 PSA 10s. Meanwhile, Bobby Charlton, who has more PSA 9 grades, has 0 PSA 10s and 231 graded. I'm really confused. I mean, obviously, it's hard to get a 10. The gem rate's super low on the Charlton, but I am just confused why there haven't been any Charlton 10s, why every single one is a 9, but then Jimmy Greaves, who there's been less graded of, has 12 10s. I find that peculiar, but anywho, just a question to throw out there. $252 on this is a pretty good price. PSA 9s probably do like $30-$40. So $252 on 10 gets a pretty decent premium. We have a Ronaldinho 2000 through 2005 Stadion PSA 10 that goes for $264. That is the celebration after the World Cup goal against England, so that's lovely to see. We have 2017 Kylian Mbappe PSA 10 that goes for $276 from the field level set. Pretty decent price for a base, but the field level and the 2017 rookie in particular of Mbappe is pretty coveted. The PSA 4 here, so this is what I was referencing earlier. This is a Campio as well, but this does a higher price by $70 over the PSA 5 earlier, so I have no clue what happened there. PSA 7 of this Henry goes for $276. I looked that one up just to sort of see where we were at, and it's about where the last ones were, $210, $222, $250, so nothing too crazy going on there. Above that, we have a Record Pele that goes for $276, probably one of the lower prices you'll see on a genuine Pele rookie with a decent release format. It is cut out from a magazine, but it was meant to be cut out, so that's somewhat useful. Beyond that, a red refractor of the Renaissance, a Vinny in a SGC 9.5 goes for $288. Again, sort of an example where I guess I'm just surprised by how low Modern does in terms of pricing. Now, you could argue maybe this is a high sale depending on your outlook of things, but if you were opening a box of Merlin, and let's just say you hit an out of 10 Vinny case hit Renaissance red, you would think you probably get a decent amount of money back. I don't know what the boxes go for. I'm guessing, like $100, $200, maybe even more. That's usually what they go for. They're not cheap. So like to hit this card, which would seem like a super good card, it did not really get great money, is just, kind of shocking, but I guess that's the state of Modern for the most part. Unless you're hitting one of ones or crazy stuff, you don't really hit big. Beyond that, Lionel Messi Peacock Choice goes for $288 in a PSA 9. Above that, Dybala 2018 Gold Auto goes for $300. We have a Ronaldinho Auto on card. I will say I respect the amount of effort Ronaldinho does put in his auto. Like, that's a legitimate auto. It's not this Paulo Dybala auto. I'll say that much. And Dybala is actually giving it a good effort compared to some of the people we see nowadays. So there's a scale here. PSA 7 Upper Deck, Ronaldo goes for 300. We have this Clint Dempsey. There we go, some U.S. guys. This is post-playing career, though, out of 5 from Eminence, goes for 312. Not really my ballpark. I like to stay in playing career, but, you know, I can understand a little bit in the sense that it's on card, it's game-worn, presumably, and it also has the nameplate in the patch, so that's really cool. Beyond that, we have a Luka Modric purple that goes for 312. Gonna look it up because people want me to look up some trebles from time to time, but this is gonna be an example of why I don't look up trebles. Really, it's just so hard to tell. You know, there's not a whole lot of consistency, which makes the whole space intriguing. We have this purple, so this sells for 312, and compared to the last gold that sold for 632, kind of makes sense. And so these two comps by themselves aren't anything crazy, but beyond that, when we go back and look, this SGC9 was sold a few times before that. It was sold on ComC for 231, so a huge difference there. Just, what is that, a month apart, it goes from 230 to 630, which is crazy, a 3x, and that is coming off of it selling on ComC for 231, but before that, it also sold on ComC here for 255, presumably unpaid, and got resold again. And before that, PWCC took it off their past sales, but it had sold a couple times on PWCC. So after going unpaid like 4 times, it eventually sells for 230 for a gold. And then it turns around and gets rerun on Probstein, which is, you know, the shill heaven of eBay. And this goes for 630. So 3x difference after it got reran 4 times. And then that sort of maybe helps the comp for this purple, or maybe this is shield too, or maybe they're going off of the gold price. I don't know, but that seems like a super high price, at least relative. Having high prices relative to past prices is good if it's sort of natural, but when it's this, you know, game of getting relisted 4 times and then selling once and then getting rerun and selling for triple what it's sold, it's just, it's a minefield that you have to sort of sort through, and it's not my favorite. So it seems like a really good price if you're the seller, maybe not so much if you're the buyer, but, you know, to each their own. We have a PSA 5 Lionel Messi Campio that goes for 312. Again, sort of why I referenced the one earlier that sold for nearly 200. This seems like a pretty decent price. Color Wheel Bukayo Saka that goes for 324 in a PSA 10. This PSA 7 goes for a pretty decent price. We saw a PSA 8 go for like $100 more than this last week, so in the range of what you'd expect, but seems like a decent price. We have a MLS guy that I'm not familiar with, but he does 336 for his 1-to-1 auto, so that seems respectable. This Pele I've never seen before, and I was pretty intrigued by. It's 2 Peles, but to me it's 1 Pele. So basically, you have this one on the left that has Pele in this sort of matador arena, and his head's peeking in down here. And then on the right, this one's also labeled as Pele, but like this is the bottom part of Pele. So it's pretty interesting that they put Pele on both of them. When if you just showed someone this card, I doubt that they'd tell you it's a Pele item. I said card, it's a sticker, but you get the idea. Nonetheless, really colorful, really kind of unique and quirky, but definitely interesting nonetheless. I'm happy I saw it. This is 2023 Lionel Messi Sky Blue White Tango. This goes for $348 for an out of 99. To me, that's a super good price, I would say. This is sort of an example where I talk about, like, in 5-10 years, are people going to be looking up the card / sticker or whatever it is that you're buying, right? I think it's a good thing to think about in terms of putting some perspective on it, right? Are people going to care in the future? And this is the type of card where I find it really hard to believe that, say, in 2034, there's someone going onto eBay and typing in 2023 Topps Argentina Filetado Sky Blue and White Tango Messi out of 99 PSA 10, right? That's just like, it's so far-fetched for me to believe. Now, I understand it's Messi, it's a numbered card, it's PSA 10, it's near around the time of the World Cup win, but 350 is a decent number. I mean, it got you into the top 30 or 40 of cards in this auction block. And this is sort of just a random card, at least in my mind. Seems super high for me, but I mean, that's a state of modern in terms of numbered stuff and what people are willing to chase. So we have a 2002 Ronaldinho here, pretty rare, coming from Japan. Goes for 348, pop 1 of 1, just 1 higher. Above that, we have a 91 Once here of Zidane, a sort of magazine cutout from what I am to understand. And in terms of past comps, the only thing I could really find was a PSA 5 that went last year for 906. So seems a little light in terms of PSA 4 going for 372, but not crazy light. This PSA 9 Germany Lionel Messi goes for 408. We have a CGC 1 of Santiago Bernabeu from 1919 that goes for 408. I tried to look it up on Toto to see if there were any comps. Couldn't find anything. I will say in terms of Bernabeu items on Toto, there's barely anything that ever reaches up into the 400 or 500 plus category, so this would seem like a really good sale comparatively, but I also couldn't find any comps, so I don't really know what they typically go for, but this does seem to be relatively early. Spain's hard to find from what I understand into the 1910s. Bernabeu did start playing early in 1910, so this isn't early career, but it definitely might be an early release, and I could see that happening. 1910s, you get some team photos, some in-action shots and whatnot, but you don't get a lot of sort of solo shots from what I've found. Moving on up, we have a 2006 Cristiano Ronaldo sticker and a PSA 10 that goes for 432. We also have this Ronaldinho from 2003 Monday Chromo that goes for 444. Very nice looking one there, always a standout in terms of the 2000s. We have an Orsi from the 1930s in a CGC 1 that goes for 444. This Erling Haaland goes for 468. These have been around about 500 as of late. We have a Gazette de Pele and a 2 that goes for 492. These have been coming down a fair bit, but one of the lesser preferred, if not the least preferred of the Pele rookies, I would say. Seems like an okay price for a Pele on card or on item. I guess this is a stamp here from 1968 that goes for 516. In this row, we have a Messi UK Traditions. This now appropriately labeled as 2006, not 2004, but goes for 552 in a PSA 10. Still a pretty respectable price, I would say. Next to we have a PSA 7. This seemed like a pretty good price as well. This went for 552. Typically, 7s are probably around 400-ish. The blue is a bit more preferred, and the Campio is a bit more preferred generally, but 552 seemed like a pretty good price. Typically, we see 8s go around here. This Beckenbauer on-card auto goes for 576. Fairly good price, I would say. I bought the last one that I saw on PWCC for a little over 500, so it's around the same price. This one I thought looked a little worse, but generally speaking, they're authentic /ones, so they're all going to look relatively the same, but pretty respectable price on that. We have a 83-84 football here of MVB, goes for 588. Looking back at comps is kind of a difficult thing to do, considering some of them are labeled as 83, 84, so we got to look between rookies and this, that, and the other. Nonetheless, when we go back and look, a PSA 9 sold for nearly $1,500 last year. I would imagine that's the highest grade. I doubt there's a 10. So given that, 600 for PSA 8 seems relatively fair. This Neymar and Falcao matchups gold goes for 600, which seems like a pretty decent price. There was the Neymar green crystals we saw recently that went for, I think it was 900 in a BGS 9. So I would imagine this definitely gets a little bit of a discount. Matchup seems great, at least from my point of view. I like the idea of having greats of the era sort of matched up against each other on a card. It's kind of cool. But from a collector standpoint, it's a little harder of a sell in the sense of, do you want to collect both players? Like, you gotta really be a fan of both guys to want to get the card most of the time, unless you're just that much of a super fan of one of the guys. But it is a gold. It's a true gold out of 10 from 2014 Prism, so it's going to get a decent number. This Mia Hamm on-card auto 1010 goes for 600. Above that, we have an Alval that goes for nearly 700, an authentic. I think we've seen an authentic altered go for, was it maybe like 500 at one point? That was probably the lowest price we've ever seen these go for, so this is around there. This Watsy Ronaldinho goes for 750. Felt like a kind of strong price, so I looked it up, and yeah, the last sales were 530 and 516, both earlier this year, so relatively it's definitely a decent price, but not out of this world, I guess. This Ochoa 1 of 1 PSA 10 goes for 780. Seems like a pretty strong price for a sticker auto of Ochoa, but it is 1 of 1. It's a PSA 10, so you're going to have the eyeballs out for it. We have a PSA 10 Cristiano Ronaldo that I looked up. This one went for $840. Over the last year, down 17%. Over the last 6 months, down 45%. That's a really high sale, so, kind of means a little less. Over the last 2 years, down 62%. So, no matter which way you want to slice it, down a good bit. Over the last year, though, I guess it's kind of hard when you look at the 6-month graph. But generally speaking, this looks pretty straight, I would say. There's obviously some ups and downs in between, but for the most part, that's sort of slow and steady. 58 Aquarella in a 1.5 goes for $870. I looked this one up because that felt really low, and it sort of is. when we look at the graph here, I guess ones have been going for as low as 500 to 600 at times. Maybe I missed these. It might be on eBay. I don't really know. But I haven't been seeing them that low, I guess, in general. Nonetheless, it seems like I guess a fair price compared to some of these lower sales, but in terms of the last sales that have been around 900s, it's low in regard to that, high in regard to the other ones, but yeah, this 1.5 goes for $870, which feels like kind of a low price, and actually looks pretty good for a 1.5, I will say. The colors look decent, pretty well centered. I mean, maybe the back's torn up, I'm not sure, but nonetheless, seems like a decent buy for a 1.5 Aquarela. We have a PSA 9 here of the Mega Cracks Team Set Messi that goes for nearly 1,000, which is typically around about where those are, depending on the white, the blue, the green, which ones people like the most. This seemed like a pretty good price on a stamp with a 4.9 grade here. Goes for $960. This is a 1930s as well issue of Miazza. Again, another example where they put circa 1930s, but PWCC just puts 1930. Pretty unfair, I would say, in terms of the listing, but this gets a really good price at $990. Next to it, we have a gold mosaic Kylian Mbappe that goes for a little over 1,000 in a PSA 10. Above that, we have a Lamine Yamal. There will be an even more egregious one later, but this is a rookie out of 99 that goes for 1,100. I probably prefer this to the one we'll see a bit later, which is saying something. We have a red refractor Kylian Mbappe out of 10 that goes for $1,100, nearly $1,200, and a pop 1 of 3. This Pele, I think we've seen this one run before. I could be wrong, but we've seen a 1.5 sell at least once, maybe twice. This looks like a relatively recent grade. I want to say that's 84 million, but it was kind of hard to tell. So yeah, 84. I was wondering if it was 94 maybe. But this goes for 1,200. I think last one went for like 1,500, so it's a little bit lower, but probably more realistic because the ones typically go for anywhere between like 400 and 700. So a 1.5 probably shouldn't get like a double on that, but it just seems like a fair price. This Monty Gum 1958 goes for $13.50. I'll look this one up because we don't see them too often, and the only other sale we have to go off was a rerun of this same exact card just a couple months ago. So really I have nothing to be able to read into there. I guess if we take out PSA 4, some PSA 1s are going for 800 to 900. So yeah, I guess 372 back here. Those are kind of all over the place. I don't know what to make of that. But yeah, I guess it seems kind of low, but at the same time, when it got reran already at 1,500, what are you going to do? We have a Kaboom Messi here that went for 1,500. I did look this one up, and yeah, there's barely any graded at this point, and the raws go for around the same price this 9 went for, which seems to make sense. It's typically how it goes. You don't have the upside of getting a 10, although I guess you kind of do in the sense that you could just crack it and resend it, and you never know what happens. 1935 Leonidas here. This says rookie. From my understanding, there are 34 issues out there, maybe 1 or 2 that I've seen in the Discord when I went and looked, so I don't think this is a rookie. Nonetheless, it's still super early, and when you look at like 1940s Americana stuff for Leonidas, it is a bit better of a release and a bit better looking, I would say. In general, this is sort of an in-action shot where he's trying to score a goal here, but this does get a pretty respectable price at 1,500. The 40s Americana stuff typically goes for like 500 to 1,000, so this does a little bit higher, which feels probably deserved. Does it deserve the rookie designation? Maybe not, but you can debate that. And just like that, we're already in the top 3 for this week as we scroll up. I would say it's pretty lackluster beneath that, but the top 3 are just crazy. An absolute fever dream for me in terms of what we're about to look at. So I don't know which one is the most egregious. We could talk through them, and you can make your pick if you want. But we have a 2023-2024 Mega Cracks Lamine Yamal, a PSA 9 card with a PSA 10 auto that goes for $26.40. I mean, closer to $3,000 than it is $2,000. And this is for a Mega Cracks base card that was signed in person by Lamine Yamal. And yeah, it gets just an insane number. I don't really know how you want to slice it. Obviously, man of the hour in terms of Spain's win. He didn't win player of the tournament, but he won young player of the tournament. I can kind of already see maybe some of the damage that went on here. I guess when you zoom out, it looks like there's like some indentations down there. Nonetheless, I mean, this is literally probably, I don't know what the card goes for raw. I know in PSA 10s it does a couple hundred or a few hundred, which means to me, the raws you probably get in Spain for like $5-10 maybe. I don't know. I know they always get the Mega Cracks for super cheap over there. So this is a very cheap card that someone signed in person. It graded a 910, which isn't even like a 1010. What does a 1010 do? Like $5,000? I don't know what the theoretical multiplier would be, but yeah, just crazy to think about. And I would say that this is probably the only time we ever see this in the top 3 on a weekly. I could be wrong, but that's what I'm thinking. Next to it, we have a Kobe fans of the game. You know, we don't talk about basketball much on this channel, but as someone that lives in Ohio, I am a LeBron guy, and I am sort of a Kobe hater, so I'll put it that way. This is a card that has always been sort of, you know, eyeballed by a lot of people and sort of fawned over. Obviously, Kobe's early passing, Kobe also being a fan of soccer, being one of the best players ever in terms of NBA, but I put him like 10 to 15 range. Maybe he sneaks into the top 10, maybe like 8 to 15, somewhere in there, right? I don't think Kobe's a GOAT of GOATs, but a lot of people, in my opinion, are so delusional that they think Kobe was one of the best players of all time. I don't know if I need to, you know, go ahead and justify why I think it's delusional, but Kobe only ever won one regular season MVP in the NBA. And if you're only the best player in the league once during your career, how can you be like a top 5 player all time? Like, it makes absolutely no sense to me. I think 10's about as high as you get, and a lot of that's due to him winning championships, which does matter, don't get me wrong. But in terms of the player, I don't think he was that great, at least as much as some of the stands seem to say. But nonetheless, this sells for $9,000, which to be honest, you never see these sell. This is unnumbered, but there's an out of 25 as well. When we go and look, basically, I don't know how to explain the sale either. I don't know what to make of it. This sold for $9,000 here on PWCC. I guess we'll see if it gets rerun. Typically, you don't see a lot of reruns on this high of an item, so I guess we'll see. On eBay, this went for $4,000, apparently. Not the greatest title, I will say, but nonetheless, it goes for $4,000, and it sold before that for $10,000. So someone must have bought this off Goldin for $10,000, sold it on eBay for $4,000, and then someone bought that and sold it on PWCC for $9,000. I don't know. I'm trying to follow the trail here, but of course, as always, if there are like old comps from back when it came out, I don't mind looking at them. It's kind of nice just to be able to know. But whenever this came out, it was $100 to $300, depending, and over time kind of went up. There is a silver version as well. This sold during the boom for $27K. In a 9.5 with, I think, the same exact subgrades. But, of course, this is silver. This is out of 25, so a bit more coveted, I would say. Nonetheless, this gets the number 2 spot for the week. And then at number 1, I don't know why this is here, but it is. When we go and look at sales history, basically the only other cards from the set that I can find were the out of 10s, and this one got rerun back in 2023. So it sold for a little under 2K. And then this 9.5 out of 8 goes for apparently 12.6, which is super, super strong comparatively to the out of 10 we just saw. I was under the assumption at least this was a game-worn patch because I could see it was a sticker auto. Sticker auto is obviously not the most coveted. But you go and look at the back, and it is a player-worn / used material. So not even game-used, which is sort of mind-boggling that a non-game used and sticker auto patch goes for $12.6 grand, but I guess that's the state of where we're at this point. So in terms of this weekly, some massive hitters at the very, very top, but in between, I guess it wasn't all that powerful, but, you know, always some unique stuff to be had in between. Looking at next week, I don't think I've taken a peek at this yet, so, oh my word, apparently people are cashing in on the Copa America win. So you got 2 71 bits and a PSA 7, and then 1 PSA 9 already at $15.5 grand. 2 of these on the, what is that? What do they call it? The flash items? Yes, 2 flashes. We have a PSA 9 Ronaldo sticker. Very good grade there. We have a PSA 9 Henry sticker. Again, very good grade there. We have a PSA 3 of the Estampas. Again, very good grade there. Some very good grades. SGC 5 George Best is middle of the road in terms of grade, but you don't see a ton of high grade, so it is pretty good grade. PSA 6 Maradona as well. We have a Ting Hall there. Keeping it moving to 5 of Maradona. We have this out of 5 green Select Pride that tries to sell. I think we've seen that before, but I could be wrong. Beyond that, Pele on-card auto. And then throughout the rest of the week, doesn't seem to be anything catching my eye, but surely there are plenty of items down there for those that wish to delve. As for me, though, that's going to be it for today, so hopefully you enjoyed. If you did, again, make sure to leave a like. Would love to hear your thoughts down below. Anything you thought sold high, low, something you might have bought, would love to hear about it. And if you want to see more videos like this as soon as I go live, make sure to subscribe. But with that said, hopefully you have a wonderful day, and peace.